Good morning, and welcome to Retail Day. My name is Ben Williams. I'm the VP of Sales for Retail here at Phenom. I've been working with retailers for many years, and I'll tell you what I tell every single client. Retail hiring isn't broken. It's just operating with outdated playbooks. While your competitors are still posting jobs and hoping for the best, the smart money is on retailers who treat talent acquisition like the competitive advantage that it really is. Here's what I've learned working with retailers from small boutiques to massive global big box chains. Every hire you make either strengthens or weakens your brand. That sales associate who helps a customer find the perfect gift, that's your brand in action. Store manager who keeps operations running smoothly during the Black Friday chaos, that's your competitive advantage walking around with a name tag on. Seasonal team member who makes returns hassle-free, that's the difference between a one-time customer and a customer for life. So when we talk about retail hiring, we're really talking about brand building, one person at a time. So let's talk about what's happening in retail right now and your unique challenges. The retail industry has really undergone more transformation in the past 5 years than in the previous 50. But here's what most people miss. This isn't just about technology disruption, it's about a fundamental shift in how work works. E-commerce now makes up nearly a quarter of all retail sales and is only accelerating. This isn't a story of online versus offline though. It's about convergence. Today's customers expect seamless omni-channel experiences where they can browse online, they can buy in store, pick up curbside, or even process returns via mail without any friction. Technology is reshaping every aspect of retail operations, from AI-powered inventory management to mobile point-of-sale systems and personalized recommendation engines. Self-checkout kiosks, radio frequency ID tags, automated fulfillment centers, those are all becoming standard across the industry. But here's what's missing. While technology handles more routine transactions, the human element has become more critical than ever. Today's retail employees need to be brand ambassadors, technology navigators, product experts, experience creators, all rolled into one. Customer expectations have evolved dramatically. Customers want instant gratification, personalized recommendations, and authentic connections with brands that share their values. Meanwhile, the workforce itself is changing. Gen Z is entering the retail industry with different expectations than previous generations. They're digital natives. They expect modern tools, clear career paths, and employers that align with their values. The gig economy has fundamentally changed how people think about work too. Your potential candidates can start earning money with Uber and DoorDash. They can pick up shifts with Instacart on their own schedule on their terms. And through all of this change, one thing remains constant. Retail is a people business that requires skilled, passionate professionals at every single level. So what does this all add up to? Well, frankly, it's creating challenges that would make your head spin if you're still thinking about hiring the old way. First, there's sheer magnitude of the volume. Retail employs more than 15.7 million people in the US alone, with turnover rates averaging 60 to 70% annually and exceeding 100% in many segments. You're essentially rehiring your entire workforce every single year. But it's not just about volume statistics. The real impact is on daily operations and customer experience. Store managers are working doubles to cover shifts day in and day out. Your best employees are burning out from constantly training new hires who don't last. Customer service suffers because you can't maintain consistent staffing levels. Every unfilled position doesn't just cost money, it impacts sales, decreases customer satisfaction, and it puts additional strain on your existing staff. Speed. Speed has become table stakes. But here's where it gets interesting. Table stakes won't win you the game anymore. What wins is the stuff you do on top of speed. When a qualified candidate applies to your store, they're likely applying to 5 other roles at the same time. If you don't engage with them within 24 to 48 hours, they're gone. But here's the challenge. You can't sacrifice quality for speed. In retail, where every employee directly impacts customer experience, one poor interaction can damage your brand instantly. A frictionless candidate experience has moved beyond nice to have to absolutely critical. Today's retail candidates, especially younger ones entering the workforce, they expect mobile-first applications, instant communication and transparency throughout the entire process. They're comparing your hiring experience to their last online purchase, not to other employers. This is where technology makes all the difference. Modern AI-powered platforms are specifically designed to address unique challenges of retail talent acquisition and retention. These solutions help organizations attract the right candidates, engage them instantly, and move them through the hiring process at the speed they expect, all while maintaining quality standards that protect your brand. The key is that retail isn't just about filling positions quickly. It's about finding professionals with the right skills, the right attitude, and the right cultural fit to deliver exceptional customer experiences. Today's AI technology can be trained specifically on retail roles, on skills, and environments to match candidates not just to jobs, but to the environments where they'll thrive. For high-volume seasonal hiring, those associates, cashiers, and stock professionals, those folks who keep your stores running, automation can handle the repetitive tasks that bog down recruiters, screening, scheduling, availability verification. All of that can be managed automatically, while teams focus on building relationships with top candidates. But talent journeys don't stop at hiring. Modern talent technology helps organizations retain the people they've worked so hard to attract. Internal mobility tools help associates find new paths with their organization. Engagement analytics help managers identify retention risk before they become resignations. Career pathing capabilities show employees a future within their company, not outside of it. What does this actually mean for you and your teams? Look, let me break it down by who's actually doing the work. For your talent acquisition folks, no more drowning in applications from people who apply to every open position on a job board. No more playing email tag. No more trying to get someone to show up for an interview. The technology handles that grunt work so you can actually focus on what matters, convincing good people that your company is worth their time. District and regional managers, you finally get the visibility you've been asking for. Which stores are bleeding people? Which managers are building strong teams? Which locations have pipelines ready for your next expansion? You'll have the data to make real decisions instead of just putting out fires. Store managers, and I know you're the ones really feeling the pain, you get tools that actually work with your reality. Review candidates while you're walking the floor. Make hiring decisions between helping customers. No more staying late just to deal with recruiting stuff. For candidates, we're talking about meeting them where they actually are. They can apply from their phone during their lunch break at the current job. They can get instant feedback instead of wondering if their application disappeared into a black hole. We make it so easy to say yes that they don't even bother finishing applications with your competitors. And here's what I think the biggest opportunity is: your current employees. Instead of watching them leave because they think there's no growth here, they can see exactly what opportunities exist. They can map out their career paths that keep them with you instead of jumping ship to whomever promises them $1 more an hour. Technology isn't slowing down. Your competitors who figure this out first are going to have a massive advantage, not just in hiring faster, but in onboarding people properly so that they actually stick around and contribute from day one, instead of being a training expense that just walks out the door. The question isn't whether this transformation is coming to retail hiring. The question is whether you are going to lead it or get left behind by it. But here's what I can promise you. Over our time together today, you're going to see exactly how retailers are winning this game. You'll hear from people who were sitting in your exact shoes not too long ago, dealing with the same staffing disasters, the same seasonal chaos, and the same good people walking out the door. You'll discover how to automate high-volume tasks without losing what makes your brand special. How to bring back the people who left may come back if you give them a reason. And you'll learn how to apply intelligence and automation to your onboarding workflows. Not just getting people in the door, but making sure they're actually ready to perform on day one instead of spending 2 weeks trying to figure out where the bathroom is. Most importantly, you'll walk away with a plan that actually fits your business. not some generic playbook that works for everyone and no one at the same time. Because when it's all said and done, this isn't about the technology. It's about making sure every customer who walks into your store gets helped by someone who knows what they're doing and wants to be there. It's about giving your managers the support they need to run great stores. It's about building something sustainable instead of just surviving the next hiring crisis. So, let's get started. Let's jump into the day.
Thanks so much, Ben. Excited to kick off Retail Day here. I know you are a Kansas City native, so you are going to love this next session. I'm going to be joined by Rally House, and today we have as the leadoff batter, batting .350 with 6 home runs, Brian Razzle Dazzle Brazzle from Rally House. Super excited for this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brian. How you been? How you doing?
I'm well. It's middle of summer, exciting time for us, and excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. What goes better with the middle of summer than baseball, a hot dog, and of course, Rally House? So, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your current role at Rally House, and what does a day to day look like for you?
Yeah, I have been here just a couple of years, and we've been through a lot of growth, right? So coming in as a talent acquisition manager, initially I was pretty focused on the corporate side of the business, but have really grown the TA team and now oversee more of the retail growth. We went from about 140 stores to just about 300 now in that 2 years, and there's no slowing down in sight. So my day to day looks like everything from administrative support to the field, helping the team manage sourcing support nationwide, as well as a lot of the projects that add to our candidate experience, right? The employer branding, the marketing campaigns that go along with when we need to staff up in new locations or for expanded business volume.
Yeah, and you guys do have a unique way of approaching new locations, right? You're not going to just put a location in Topeka. Maybe you do have a location. I don't know. I should have done my homework, but it's very strategic, right? I noticed in the Philadelphia market, you guys have fantastic branding, a nice little jingle for all the local Philly teams, and you're growing greatly here. How unique is your expansion in really rapid growth that you've had compared to other organizations, and how has it shaped your hiring strategy?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And we absolutely have a location in Topeka. It was one of our first as a Kansas sampler before we expanded beyond the state and became Rally House. So the interesting thing is we've got kind of a diversified strategy there, right? If we're continuing to grow in the state of Michigan, in and around Detroit, for example, we're also taking advantage of some real estate opportunities in and around college campuses, right? Ann Arbor was a significant market growth for us last year. We made a strategic acquisition of a few locations on campus there. We're also getting into some new states, right? So Florida is brand new for us this year. We're going to open in Gainesville at a campus location and kind of grow out from there. So whether it's a metropolitan cluster around professional teams or more of a single or cluster of locations around a campus location to support, the university fans. That's another growth strategy for us. And compared to the rest of the retail industry, from what I've seen, a lot of companies unfortunately are going the opposite direction. As I'm sure some other speakers will mention, it's given us some unique opportunities to pick up that talent that might be on the market unexpectedly. So that's kind of something that we're happy to take advantage of.
Yeah, wherever successful sports teams are residing is where you guys want to go next, which is ever changing, right? I mean, not for the New York Jets, of course, they're constantly losing, but you look at the Florida Gators winning a national championship, that aligns with your growth in Florida. How much did you look at AI and automation as the organization started looking at these? You have to ramp up hiring quick, no matter where it is, Topeka or Gainesville. So how has that been ingrained kind of into your hiring process?
Yeah, and really the decision to come on board with Phenom predates me, right? We were in the middle of testing and implementation when I joined the organization, but I know that AI was a big differentiator in the platforms that they reviewed. So we've tried to leverage that as best we can, whether it's Fit Score to help float those best fit candidates to the top of the pile, or if it's a matter of really personalizing our outreach campaigns. So when the big games coming up and your team's in it, you're not just getting a, hey, we're hiring. We're getting a, hey, we're hiring for your team with their logo all over our products as part of that email campaign. So it really does connect the people to what they're passionate about and helps us find the right people to serve those fans.
Yeah, it's personalization to something a lot of individuals are very passionate about, which is exciting. I want to ask you, similar to the way that the Oakland A's kind of reshaped baseball with the famous iconic movie starring Brad Pitt, Moneyball, right?
Sure.
Everyone dove into analytics. They realized they needed it, whether you needed a left-handed batter versus a right-handed pitcher. You get the idea. When did you at Rally House realize the catalyst moment that traditional processes weren't going to work for you? Obviously, you're growing a tremendous amount. That's a lot of resumes. That's a lot of interviews. What was that moment where you said, hey, we have to implement some technology in order to make this work?
Yeah, I think it was kind of that growth spurt, right? We opened our first brick and mortar store in the early 90s, and it took them until just a couple of years ago to get to that 140 stores. But as we started to add new layers of leadership in the organization, really looking at scaling and what that takes from a talent acquisition standpoint, we quickly realized we needed to be decentralized. We needed to make sure that stores could hire a customer who's interested in working there on the spot and have them start within a couple hours, right? And that's not something that we can do in 300 stores from Kansas City. So I think that's where we realized not only do we need to decentralize, but we need to automate. We need to have candidates that can go through a screening process and schedule themselves in for an interview versus managers going through that screening process and manually doing that scheduling. So that alone has saved us an exorbitant amount of time.
Yeah, having somebody interview and then start later that day, even if it's just tomorrow, that's a huge task. So awesome to hear that. You reach that moment. You say, we can't do this manually. And you started exploring technologies. You landed with Phenom, which we're very happy to have you. But I want to ask you, were there any key features or benefits that Phenom provided that you were like, this is a must have? Everything else is fantastic. We're going to use it eventually. But in order to make some of these, high volume hiring events work to really fill our stores, what pieces of technology did you lean on the most?
We looked at that high volume hiring workflow. We looked at that combination of a need for decentralization, but also efficiency and automation. And to be able to leverage that alone, I think has been our biggest game changer as we've tried to, grow as quickly as we have.
You have to have it, right? At this point, we talk about it on a regular basis here at Phenom. Obviously, the chatter around all industries, not just human resources, is AI. How are you currently using that in your processes today? I'm sure we're all going to use it differently a year from now, 10 years from now, however that is. But today, how are you leveraging it to be successful?
Yeah, when I think about kind of cutting through the crowd noise of everything that's going on and be able to really come up with the playbook to get through all those scenarios, there's probably 5 tools that I would almost always lean on. In a high volume situation, that workflow, the self-scheduled interviews, our screening questions that kind of bring our best players to the roster, those are going to be the ones that I think are going to work when we need to staff up in a short amount of time in a few locations or nationally, right? For holidays, for example. When we're looking for more leadership positions in a new store that we're about to open, I like to leverage that fit score where we can, again, try and bring the best candidates in for an interview, right? We're going to be more selective in some scenarios. And that's a tool when we've got to sort through a lot of applications really quickly to make sure we're spending the right time on the right people. When it comes to some outreach on an upcoming new store or an upcoming season or leading into the playoffs, we like to use campaigns and really customize them, right? So being able to generate our distribution list with some AI features, being able to get a team logo or product examples on that outreach communication is really big for us. When I think about sourcing for the corporate office or, again, a new market that we're going into, using the CRM for the lead generation, going outside of what's in our ATS and who's applying to go get those passive candidates. That's been a game changer. And then kind of the hidden time saver, I think, for everyone involved in the hiring process is our chatbot, right? If we do a good job maintaining that, I don't even know the amount of emails that we save going back and forth to the recruiting inbox on that one.
Yeah, no, any email saved is worthwhile in my opinion. I am the worst with email. Rally House's marketing, even from a business perspective, is very localized. I mentioned the jingle that you have in the Philadelphia area, talking about Villanova, St. Joe's, Temple, all of the local schools. How is that same mindset applied to your recruiting approach, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think celebrating hometown connections is our motto, and we do it. We do it very well. I think if you're in Philadelphia, you think Rally House started there. Same thing with Dallas or Detroit, and of course here in Kansas City. As an example, just like here in Kansas City, Philadelphia's had a lot to celebrate lately.
You're not doing us any favors with the Philly or the Eagles room that you're in right now. I can tell you, it's only feeding into my beliefs that it started in the Philadelphia market. We could talk about championships all day long. Not my championships, but overall, something that leads to championships, right, is impact players. And I think we've already discussed that AI and automation have been impactful for you. What are some of the specific successes you've seen since implementing those players to your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think about the time saved, the candidate quality that we're starting to surface to the top. Our ability to differentiate from our competitors by really drawing on their passion, their team, their hometown. That's something that AI has helped us do. It's helped us add a personal touch at scale.
Yeah, and it's at your fingertips, right? I imagined that once your team got acclimated, there is obviously some sort of build up process, onboarding. Once your team hit their flow, they got into their groove, they were on their win streak, they had their playoff beards going. How much time would you say it cut down in their day? Because you mentioned emails have been saved, scheduling has been saved. Are they getting a tremendous amount of time back in their day where they can watch sports?
Of course. I think when I try and zoom out and look at how we spend our time from a high level, there's three main things we're doing, right? We're supporting the stores with anything they need day to day, whether it's helping them set up an event, helping them market an open position, get a new store open, or staff up for a busy season, right? That's kind of the administrative support for me. There's also the sourcing piece, right? That to me is where we add the most value and where we want to capitalize on most of our time. So when we talk about the amount of time that we used to spend on administrative or could be spending on administrative type responsibilities, and the amount of time that's added to sourcing, that's a game changer. But it's also opened up a whole another slice of that pie, which is projects that help support our employer branding, projects that help support our store growth, whether it's updating the career site. We're getting ready to move to design studio. Really excited about that. Or just getting the personalization campaigns ready for all the teams that look like they're going into the playoffs, right? Being able to add more time and energy into that is better for us and better for our fans and our team members.
Yeah, no, it's important, and it has to have helped with the growth that you guys are having. You're opening up new locations. You're able to kind of turn that on with a little bit of design and things like there to when the grand opening happens, when you're cutting the ribbon, when the championship parade confetti falls, you guys are ready to hit the ground running. Rally House has had a tremendous amount of success, but much like sports, it's about your next championship, right? It's not about what you've done in the past. So I want to ask you, what is the future of talent acquisition for Rally House? What are you looking forward to in the coming years?
Yeah, I think as we continue to grow and continue to expand in the cities we're already in, we're thinking about growth still in terms of speed and volume, right? We never want to take our eye off the ball there, whether it's being able to ramp up in a new market or for a busy season, that's going to stay critical. Being able to pivot on a dime, depending on which team wins, is never going to lose its value. But I think we also want to start to increase our quality, right? Bring in more of those A players, those MVPs, and those all-stars. So whether it's refining our fit score criteria, enhancing our screening questions, or doing things to really enhance our employer branding, be it on the career site, we want to do a better job telling our story and communicating our culture to the market.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, synonymously with sports, it's a "what have you done for me lately" league, right? That's the same with talent acquisition. When you're recruiting new batches of talent, it's how can we remain on that cutting edge? How can we continue to personalize better than our competition and bring top talent into the business? So that makes complete and total sense. If you were to recommend one feature or one tool to another friend in talent acquisition, on where to get started, what would that be? What's the one piece that you think, if you're not doing this today, you need to start tomorrow?
Gosh, I would say pick anything and go for it, right? Whatever you're most comfortable with. One of the easiest things for us to get new team members up to speed on has been the chatbot, right? So helping them learn to program in some of those prompts and responses, leverage the reporting to figure out where we need to add content, and then layering on things like talent community pipelines through that chatbot have been an easy place to start for people that aren't as comfortable with AI as maybe others.
Yeah, no, it you have to start with what you're good at, right? You can't change your identity. You have to get comfortable, and then you can add more tools in your tool belt as you go along. So, thank you for sharing that. One piece of advice that I want to ask you for is, you've had experience scaling up from 140 to 300 stores. Not every organization can say they do that. They may aspire to do that, but kudos to you for actually getting it done. What's one thing that you may have learned, one piece of advice that you would share with other retail leaders who want to mimic that same rally, if you will, in the seventh, eighth, or ninth inning in order to come out with a win?
Yeah, I think if you're not already doing it, and hopefully you are if you're here watching this, but you need to leverage AI, and leverage it more. I think a quote I really like is, recruiters aren't going to be replaced by AI, but they are going to be replaced by people who use it, or other recruiters who use it, I should say. And so those who use it best will probably go the farthest when it comes to company performance and growth.
Yeah. We see this with all technology, right? Whether it's cleats, whether it's hat, whether it's dry fit material, it's the next evolution of technology that's going to help you find success. Brian, this has been a fun conversation. Selfishly, I enjoyed it very much because I got to weave sports into it. Probably more than I should have, but neither here nor there. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for kicking off Retail Day, and can't wait to see you around the way for webinars and I Am Phenom next year and everywhere in between. And feel free to get out of that Eagles room now. You can go back to Kansas City.
Much appreciated. Thanks, Devin. Great to see you.
Thank you. Bye.
Welcome, everybody. Today is Retail Day as we are kicking off Industry Week, and we have another amazing customer story coming up for you. Today, I am joined by none other than Mr. Jordan Applegate from Sweetwater Sound. Jordan, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, good afternoon. Hey, I'm excited to be here, share a little bit. As you know, I am a huge fan of Phenom. I like to call myself a champion and an ambassador of Phenom, because I'm singing your praises every opportunity I can. So excited to share a little bit of our journey and see if we can encourage others while they're shaping theirs.
Yeah, without a doubt, Jordan, because, the theme of Industry Week this year is all about stepping into the future and taking steps with AI and automation. And I know it's been a few months since I Am Phenom, and you've been sharing your stories of how Sweetwater Sound is using automations to really reimagine their hiring process. Could you just kind of catch our audience up a little bit? Like, what's been going on around Sweetwater Sound since the last time we talked at I Am Phenom a few months back?
Yeah, I mean, look, the constant evolution of how we can and utilize and streamline our recruiting process really is kind of the motivation behind the use of Phenom, and that's been ever since the beginning. But what we do just on a regular basis is I challenge our team of, what can you do to drive efficiencies into your recruiting process? So I have set kind of foundationally the recruiting process that I think is appropriate to follow. And then I really mobilize and encourage the team to add their own flavor into it. So some of the cool tools and automations that Phenom offers allow the recruiters on my team to really personalize their approach to the recruiting process, utilizing automations and recipes and some other things that I know we're going to get into. So that really is kind of what's been going on.
That's amazing. And you guys are definitely taking steps and like leaps and bounds. So kind of just, I'd love to just ask you just around, what has been your position around point solutions over the last few years, and your viewpoint towards, a centralized system of engagement? And how does that help you really start to strategize around you building out AI and automations?
Yeah. Oh, this is one I could talk long term about, because one of the biggest rubs for me as a leader within the talent acquisition space is seeing my team originally, and connecting with other peers around the industry and hearing their issues of a lack of efficiency because their team is playing in what I like to call so many different sandboxes. So in order for me to go out and have someone apply, this is the partner that I use. And once I get an application, how do I engage with them through text? This is how the partner that I use. And what if I want to do campaigns or larger scale employer marketing? This is the platform I use. So so on and so forth. And the answer up until the last few years is like, there has been no place that you can do all of those different things. And an exploration of like streamlining the efficiency of our team, there really was a desire for us to move early on to a more modern technology that we were utilizing for an ATS solution, and a recruiting CRM solution, because I was on what I affectionately call, prior to Phenom, an old crusty database. But we moved to Phenom, and what I found was there was still a desire for me to, cancel other partnerships that I was using for all these different things. And in some cases, Phenom already had it. But then in other cases, I have really challenged product teams at Phenom, which is one of the reasons I love Phenom. Hey, that's silly. Why can't I do this in your system? And then months later, it was like, hey, we heard you and we did this thing for you. So
Talk about that collaboration piece. How important is it to you having a partner who does listen and who does make decisions based on that feedback? Because, I think about so much around HR tech, and sometimes to your point about picking out partners, and then you enter into years long agreements with folks. How important is it to have that flexibility or to have that partnership to you in order
yeah.
to really make that impact?
Man, so important. I think that was one of the concerns that we had moving from proprietary system. I
Mhm.
jokingly called it an old crusty database, but the cool thing
Yeah.
about it is that our dev teams and software engineers in-house were managing it. So when I did want
Mhm.
an enhancement, I just went to our IT leaders and said, hey, I'd like this enhancement. And in some cases, it was like, hey, that's completely out of our scope. Like, the system just can't do that. And then in other cases, it was like, no problem, man. We'll make that happen. So
Yeah.
I knew that I was like turning over the ability to leverage internal software
Right.
developers to like enhance the product that I was using from a recruiting standpoint into the hands of an external partner. So through the exploratory phases with Phenom and other customers, like that was one of the main questions that I said is like, how can we, how are you with driving enhancements, with taking customer feedback? And you never really know until you get into an agreement. I mean, during the sales pitch and process, I think you hear that most companies have a desire, and I believe that they do, to really take feedback into consideration. But what I've seen is not only from my account manager,
Mhm.
um, but also from the ability for my account manager to like really allow me to connect with people that in other companies I know are a little bit harder to have that direct connection with. So I can tell you this, like Phenom CRM product owner, and I have a personal relationship because my account manager made a connection, and I go directly to the product owner for CRM to ask and talk about enhancements, and he has the ability as the owner to take that feedback and then push it back into the team if it makes sense for the larger platform. And obviously, there's a maturity that I need to understand. If I'm the only one asking for it, then maybe that's a me problem. But if it is an enterprise, like, oh no, this actually makes sense for us, other customers are asking for it, I've seen that it is turned into action in a pretty significant way, which is, so that relationship is really important to me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like when you're relinquishing like that trust of having that direct resource to your own internal developers, and then you're relying on a partner to not only hear
Yeah.
your requests but to respond. Looking back at that decision point, are you missing anything from choosing to jump on board with Phenom?
Yeah, I'm missing headaches. I'm missing the spinning beach ball of death. I'm honestly, I'm
Right.
probably an easy customer story because I really was leaving a little bit more of an outdated technology. And
Yeah.
our team did a really good job to what I call kind of glove fit exactly what I needed. But there were some technology capacity issues that we were starting to come up against that Phenom was able to really correct for us in a pretty special way. So I'm not missing much. I mean, when you when I relinquished the ability to have a really quick turnaround. So there are some things where we're having discussions long term that doesn't necessarily turn into action immediately. But I think that is because I am a little bit more of a realist in knowing that, like, again, it goes back to, like, is it a me issue or is it a customer or platform issue? And I've just seen if the answer to those questions is yes to the last two, then Phenom operates in a pretty significant way to handle an enhancement pretty
Yeah.
darn quick.
So you mentioned how you were able to provide some CRM enhancements through working with the product team. Could you share with us like a specific story of where you brought a suggestion to the team and then they brought that into action for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the processes that we utilize from an automation standpoint, again, I empower my team to insert their own flavor. So in our old database, we didn't have automatic interview scheduling capabilities. So what my team started to utilize, again, outside of the sandbox, so they went to a platform that would allow us to do some more automated interviewing, and they were utilizing Calendly. Um, and it was, hey, we're requesting an interview. If you're interested, here's a Calendly link. Would you go ahead and schedule a time with me? And through the integration to our email client and everything else, like, you're interested, Jordan puts the interview on my calendar, and Jordan shows up on my calendar as long as it's available. When we first came on to Phenom, there was some really exciting ability from an interview standpoint of, for lack of a better term, I don't exactly know, maybe you can correct me, but there was like interview bots, if you will, kind of AI enhanced interview scheduling. It was hard for me to get adoption for my team to utilize that, because it was just so foreign to the team. So in kind of a multi-step process for us to get to a more enhanced true AI scheduling technology, I requested that Phenom basically recreate just a simple scheduling link. Like, hold on, like, my team has a process in place. They send these emails that request, and then the people schedule themselves. Like, I don't know that I absolutely need an AI agent or assistant to like go back and forth with a candidate, because we don't think that part of our process is broke. Like, we just need the candidate to be able to click a link, see the schedule, and go in.
Yeah.
Well, the
And
answer was like, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, as you're bringing that up, like that right there. I'm sorry, my brain just started firing because that personalized scheduling link is not only something that I hear from other customers getting real value from, but also from our own internal recruiters. And again, like I think that that's what comes from such a collaborative environment when you
Yeah.
could bounce those ideas back and forth with your vendor.
Yeah, so I mean that is a interesting thing that they were like, yeah, you're right. We could easily do this. Like, we already have the technology on the back end. Like, let us create these links, and then a couple back and forth emails, and a sprint dev sprint later, like they were like, check your homepage on Phenom, scroll down. We clicked a box and now it's there for you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then it has been basically requesting the team at that point on is like, hey, here's a multi-step adoption. Now we have the personalized schedule link, which makes it really easy for you to utilize this. And some people have embraced a little bit more of the AI assistant, which is where I think kind of future probably looks is leveraging a little bit more AI assistant work. But right now, the scheduling link is doing fantastic to drive that efficiency within the team and take them out of that one sandbox and then keep them in Phenom, right? So that really was a goal for me.
Yeah. So Jordan, when we first started talking, I shared with you how I'm a fellow musician alongside with you. And that, I shared with you this
Mhm.
story that a few years ago, I got to start taking guitar lessons with one of my favorite guitarists. And in doing so, we started learning licks together. But then it immediately changed gears. And I was like, hey, show me that magic trick. How do you write these songs? How do you come up with these amazing lyrics? And so when we started talking, I started thinking about just all of your automations that you build consistently and how they impact your team. Could you show me your magic trick a little bit in your creative process towards building out automations?
Yeah, for sure. I think, as a musician and a songwriter myself, it's an interesting parallel because when you approach songwriting, and I don't know kind of the guy that was mentoring you, how he approached it, but I believe that there's certainly multiple parts of a song, right? So typically you have a verse, you have a chorus, in some cases you have a bridge and then a chorus. But really um, before I approach songwriting as a songwriter, I have to really define the theme of what the song is going to be, right? What's the story that I'm going to tell in this song? And I think in order for me to approach automations, the theme in this would be transitioned into the why. So like, why or what am I trying to solve? And then why am I trying to solve it, right? So when I'm thinking about an automation and really in this parallel of songwriting, it's like, let's find the theme, right? What are we trying to do? And then the parts of the songwriting journey I would translate into the reality of the parts of the recruiting process. So re-engineering the recruiting process was one of the first things that I did when we went to Phenom. So here's this incredibly powerful tool. I wish I would have done the homework ahead of hitting the go live button, because there was a time where I started to re-engineer after we went live, understanding the power of the tool to say, okay, now I have automation technology. What can I do? And what I did is I just pulled apart all the different parts of the recruiting process, right? So the application process, so candidate is applying, or we're sourcing a candidate. So there's a part of the process. The once we engage with them, the interview process. So how are we? What are we doing when we're going through the interview process? And then kind of the tail end, the bridge, if you will, of the song would be for me like the selection process, and now kind of the execution of offers, and then now we're moving into, all right, let's wrap it up with an outro of a song, right? And the outro for me is going to be that connection into the new HCM that we're utilizing for all of our employee onboarding. So, as a creative, when we started to talk about this, I was like, oh, I love this analogy. It's going to allow me the opportunity to think about it a little bit differently. But the magic for me is really that taking a step back and taking a look at your recruiting process from a lens that says it's not perfect. Like, what are the things that is taking your recruiters too much time? And what I found out is like, what are the things that they're manually having to do over and over with more than just one candidate? So are they sending the same type of email to all candidates at this stage? If answer is yes, how can we automate that? And that's really the process that we took, is like anything that was a manual process that was happening over and over through that life cycle of the recruiting process for us at Sweetwater. We asked the question, could we automate it? Number one. If the answer was yes, the second question, and probably more important question, was, can you automate it without taking away the personalization? Like, I don't want it to feel like a bot. I don't want it to feel like a human is actually not making that request. So,
Right. And you're
the,
dealing with creatives who could sniff that out like a
yeah,
mile, like inauthenticity
yeah, that's right.
really can get sniffed out very quickly.
So it was engineering the process through automation that
Yeah.
would make it feel like, no, there's still a human on the other end making that
Mhm.
request, writing that email, sending that
Yeah.
text message, whatever it may be.
So, so we were talking a little bit about interview scheduling before. Could you maybe like take a look at that manual process for you and how you guys set up some automations around there to really help your team
Yeah.
along?
Yeah, this one was fun. So this one is for us. Application comes in. We are utilizing Phenom from a career site. So we have a CMS on the front end. I'm managing all of our application process. So let's just kind of fast forward to great candidate, great looking candidate. We want to engage in the process. So Phenom has kind of some foundational candidate statuses, and then they allow us as customers to create our own statuses within those foundational statuses. So we we had some pretty mature and baked statuses that I had a pretty mature team that had been utilizing them. So I didn't want to change naming conventions. So I stayed with my same statuses. And then on the back end, we just routed them to Phenom's foundational statuses for reporting purposes, right? So we stayed with our statuses. So one of our statuses is not reviewed for all new applications. And then when I move as a recruiter from not reviewed to a considering, like considering for me is I am considering them for an opportunity and we're requesting next steps with that individual. Well, they move into kind of a phone interview or first round interview stage once we have a response for the individual. But when I move an individual to considering, there's some type of outreach that happens. And in most cases, it's a request for an interview. So that was a manual process in our old system. And when we first went on to Phenom, that was a manual process. Like, yeah, we had hyperlinks and some other things and templates that were built that we were able to do it quicker, but it was still, even with templates and hyperlinks and some other things, it was probably, let's call it a 10 to 15 second request after we built templates out. So I started to ask myself, what can we do from an automation standpoint? So what we did is we created a recipe. When status of a candidate changes from not reviewed to considering, fire off this templated email that we created, very personalized with the information that the CRM has to request the interview, with the interview link that now allows them to click in, and then it shows up on our recruiter's calendar as an interview. So we thought it was all golden, man. I was like, oh, we figured this thing out.
You cracked the code, saving hours, days.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
all the good
And
stuff.
all of a sudden we started figuring out, oh my goodness, the status, the automation is actually firing based off of not the person who's changing the status, but just the status in general. So what was happening actually is I had created the automation, and the first few times that were coming in,
Right.
People were showing up and responding to an email from me requesting them for an interview. And I was pretty hands-on. I was a kind of player coach where I was interviewing for a lot of positions at that time as well. And I was like, yeah, like, why is this candidate responding to me? I didn't send him the email. And what we found out is because I set the automation up, it was automatically firing all requests or automations from me, from my email account.
Smokes.
So
I'm loving this story because, you know, like there's a trial and error to all of this though, too. Like the idea of like getting it right on the first try or writing a hit song in one swag. I mean, those happen few and far between. So
that's right. Yeah. So what we did is I had to think through, and I said, okay, if it is an automation that is firing off of a status and not necessarily a recruiter or user's behavior, then we need to make sure that we take a look at statuses. So candidly, what we did is we created a considering dash name of recruiter status that is now connected to an automation for each individual. So instead of everyone having one status that sends their automation, now if I'm a recruiter named Dave, I have considering dash Dave. If I'm recruiter Sally, I have considering dash Sally. So
that's
now
such
the
an
automation
important detail. That's
What's
such
that?
That's such an important detail, which is like, don't be afraid to customize either,
Right.
and to start forming your own common language.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sally and Dave have, I don't have a Sally and Dave, but now my Sallys and Daves have all their own considering statuses, which is attached to the automation process for them. And that was one that we saw, even with just the 10 to 15 seconds that it was saving, has just saved us hundreds of hours when you kind of equate it into the amount of individuals. And then the other interesting piece is, because of the general statement of or fact that a single status, regardless of who changes the status, sends an email. What we then did is we created any candidate that we're saying no to, we created a single status that they get changed to that sends off a personalized, but a kind of our thanks, no thanks email, if you will. The hey, we're pursuing other candidates for this opportunity with some, different verbiage. But now, if it's me, Dave, Sally, John, Jim, whoever it is, all of them can go to that single status, so it doesn't have to be their own status, and then a general from our general careers email, if you will, is sending
Yeah.
a thanks, no thanks.
So you're mixing and matching that personal touch, and then also just allowing more of those general automated messages to kind of take the weight off of your individual recruiters
Right.
throughout the process as
Yeah.
well. So taking a step back, right, and looking at your automations, like we zoned in really in on that automated and on that interview scheduling side of things. How else are you guys currently using automations? And can you share with us, like, what does like a day-to-day look like, a day in the life of a Sweetwater recruiter look like now, since you guys have implemented all of these automations and recipes to really help your hiring process?
Yeah, I think it gives. So I'll answer the second part first. I think a day is now giving time back to the recruiter to make the right decisions on who to actually talk to. So it's kind of giving the individuals the ability to talk to more individuals instead of having to do more administrative tasks, right? So, on a day where I could do um, previously where I could do 4 hour-long interviews and then I had 4 hours of administrative work, like now I actually have, 7 hours of interviews, if necessary, per day, or I have still that 4 hours and then I have 4 other hours to do sourcing. So it's giving time back to my recruiters and to my talent acquisition team, because we're now leveraging automation to do some of those manual lifts that we were doing previously that were just like equating to, 15 seconds, times 4 equals a minute times whatever. Like you just do the math and you think like, oh my goodness, like just in interview requests alone, we were blowing X amount of hours monthly, just by a recruiter requesting. And now it's a 1-second thing where I change the status and the request happens. Right. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what a day-to-day looks like. And I'm continuing to encourage, like, if there are manual things that are taking you time that you find yourself doing
Mhm.
over and over, then let's
Mhm.
look at automation, because I think that we can, and we can personalize it, but we can make that into a little bit more of an automated and efficient process.
Yeah.
And then I will tell a story. One of my favorite automations. So we turned on a new
Yeah,
product.
please.
We turned on a product that you guys have, called Indeed Apply.
Yep.
So there's a product called Indeed Apply, which essentially,
Easy apply, right? One click
yeah,
apply integration with Indeed.
that's right. So the easy apply, what was happening is, so we have a significant amount of hiring that happens in what we call our peak season for our distribution center population. It's a world where you got to pay for your jobs to be seen. So we were utilizing Indeed, which
Of
is what
course.
most hourly staff individuals are utilizing to find jobs during peak season.
Mhm.
And what was happening is there was this disconnect between Phenom and Indeed. Here's the two sandboxes again.
Right.
So we were in two different sandboxes, and I was getting applications in Indeed. They were easy applying in Indeed, and they were just sitting there, hundreds of
Oh
them,
my gosh.
until a recruiter could find within their peak season hiring to pop in,
Oh
review
yeah, when they get
applications,
extra time to
and then
jump in.
bulk upload candidates back into this process.
Wow.
So what we did is, through my relationship with our account manager, I was telling him, here's some problems, and man, I wish that there was an integration. And he's like, we have an integration, like, let's talk about this. So we turned this product on called the Easy Apply, or Indeed Apply as I call it, and it streamlines that. So now the candidate believes they're staying in Indeed, but what's happening is they're hitting Easy Apply on Indeed, and then it's
Mhm.
automatically connecting now into the one sandbox I want my recruiter in. So I don't have to go out and find the applications and then move them over. So I'm saving a ridiculous amount of time.
Oh my
The
gosh.
interesting thing here is that was happening automatically, and we turned it on, and I was like, oh, this is cool, but I'm not seeing them as new applications. I'm seeing them as leads in the system.
Oh.
So there was a question of like, no, because of the candidate experience, I don't want these individuals to sit in a lead bucket and not get reached out to, because we're used to the process of us looking at the not reviewed status as new
Sure.
applications.
Right.
So there was people now sitting in lead that I found out. So what we did is we created an automation that says, if the source, because Phenom does a good
Mm.
job of showing you the source, if the source is Indeed applied, which is only people who are coming from that easy apply on Indeed, if the
Mhm.
source is Indeed apply, automatically Phenom change the status from lead, which is what the system has to bring them in as a lead, change it from lead to not reviewed. So it's dropping into my recruiter's not reviewed platform and status spotlight, so that they know that those are indeed people. Because again, if I'm on Indeed and I'm a candidate that says easy apply, I believe I put in an application for this job, right?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean,
So
as a candidate now, also, I mean, it's table stakes for one click
yeah,
apply, like as
yeah,
well, just as
yeah.
far as
That's right.
appetite.
It's the bar is so low to apply to a job now that like I'm not going to take a lead and go put in an official application for us to process you for the seasonal opportunity. So what we did is automation says comes in with the source Indeed applied, changed from lead to not reviewed. So it's in my recruiter spotlight that shows them as a new applicant for our distribution center positions. And now my recruiter can then engage through their other automations to set up a phone screen for those individuals. So that one was a game changer for us.
Without a doubt, because I mean, you're able now to start segmenting out your leads without ever even having to touch them. And now you're even building like a stronger applicant pool, and you're getting folks in the door even faster. Man, fantastic. So thinking about the future, where are you all focusing next? What's the next horizon of automation look like for Sweetwater Sound?
Yeah, this is probably the most exciting, because when we talk about streamlining and where is it the process as a recruiting process as a whole, from candidate interest all the way through employee, my most manual process still currently is once I have an executed agreement, which we're handling through Phenom. We're also handling background check integration to a third-party background check provider through Phenom, which is fantastic and game changer when you think about automation too. We didn't even get into that, but that's a manual process that used to take us 3 to 5 minutes per person that now takes us
Let's get into
2
it.
seconds.
Let's
Yeah,
get
so
into it.
we turned on offer management. We turned on a product called offer management with Phenom that
Yep.
allows us to execute agreements. Again, background check, separate sandbox, Phenom. I want all of them in Phenom. So we created integration between Phenom and our background check provider, shout out to Checker, to basically have an integration that says I can now just click a button in Phenom once I have an executed agreement, offer agreement, that then Checker receives and automatically sends the email that they need to initiate the background check. What was happening previously is my recruiting coordinator was getting an executed agreement, and it would say Jordan Applegate needs a background check. Okay, well, Jordan Applegate, we're going to get Jordan's email. We're going to put him as a new candidate in Checker, and then Checker's going to handle the send from that standpoint. Checker still handles all of that, but Checker's tech teams and Phenom team got together, created an integration that streamlines that now, as my recruiting coordinator only has to go in and click a single button, that now streamlines that background check process. So that's another automation. And it's not like a
But you
recipe
bringing
that I
that
had to create,
story
but
in.
it was just leveraging 2 partners and saying,
Mhm.
I don't want my team in both sandboxes. I want them in one. Like, you guys figure it out. You guys
Yeah.
figure it out.
And it's important to have partners that are like, yeah, no, like let's work together to make this happen
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So
So now that
yeah,
we've
man.
streamlined that all the way up to the point of like, candidate says yes, goes through the background check process, and is ready to be turned into a on paper employee. Now we need to execute onboarding. We now need the process that my recruiting coordinator is actually manually entering all of the employee information within our system, which we're utilizing Workday to do our HCM for us. So the conversation now has been, okay, how do I automate offer execution and background check, and now we're ready to bring someone into Workday as an employee and hire them into an actual job that lives in Workday now, job profile, you name it. All the details around compensation structure and all those things live within our HCM. So now, actually just this week, we're starting conversations to figure out that integration that's going to happen, that when all of the boxes are checked in Phenom through offer management that we have turned on. Now Workday HCM picks it up and automatically builds the employee so that my recruiting coordinator doesn't have to manually enter all the details for the employee. So that's the future. And I think that that's going to be a significant win. And look, a pillar of Sweetwater, one of our 5 imperatives and pillars, is driving continuous improvement. And we're going to continue to operate in that. But like, I'm going to take a deep breath once the HCM and Phenom integration is done, and I might pat our team on the back a little bit and say, like, look at the efficiency we've drove. Maybe let us operate in a little bit of that excitement for a couple months, and then figure out how we can turn something else on to to make the project more efficient. But my goodness, worlds apart from where we started a couple years ago.
Yeah. And like, are your recruiters bummed out that they're not doing as much manual work anymore?
Oh, no way. I mean, that like, you're a recruiter because you got the gift of gab. You just want to talk to people all day long. Most people naturally don't want to handle the administrative work anyways. Another cool thing is, like, I've been able to now empower some of our talent acquisition team to take on like stretch assignments and project management and other areas that they just didn't have the time or capacity to do previously. So now I'm actually empowering individuals to be growing professionally and personally through taking on stretch assignments and additional work, which is really, really cool for their development.
That's fantastic, because I mean, that's a part of like the hope of what AI and automation can do, is provide time savings, but then to also just reinvest back into the organization,
Yeah.
find new opportunities for yourself as well. I love hearing that you guys are reinvesting that into your folks.
Mm-hmm.
So Jordan, I really appreciate you for hopping on here and for hanging out with me today, man. Like, you guys are doing amazing things, and really, like, taking a step back from where you guys were to where you are now. You're building out, you're not only just writing a song, but a beautiful album about what you can actually do efficiently with AI and automation.
Yeah.
But before we go, I got one more question for you.
Yeah, man.
So if you were sitting around talking with a friend of yours who's also in a similar shoe, working in the retail industry, having to deal with high volume hiring, but they are on the sideline right now with AI and automation and saying, you know what, I don't trust it. I'm just going to just stick back and just wait and see what happens. What would you say to that person?
Yeah. First thing I would say is, like, good for you for questioning whether or not it's appropriate for your company, and having a little bit of a concern of what it might look like to turn on automations or some AI assistant into your workflow. I think, I really think culture has shifted, where, like, you originally heard, like, oh my gosh, it's going to take away human jobs. And now it's more of like, no, what I'm seeing is that a lot of people are embracing the reality that, like, no, this actually just enhances the work that I'm doing and makes me a lot more efficient, to where I can handle the things that I really want to. Like, what most people are doing is, like, they're not utilizing automations and AI assistants to do the things that they enjoy doing. Like, why would I have someone automate a process that, like, I actually enjoy doing?
Right.
Now, there are some people who love and enjoy doing administrative work, and that might be a little bit different. But I think that most individuals are utilizing this to take on the things that are just kind of the monotonous tasks that are the manual things over and over, that many of us have questioned, like, why do I have to do this every single time?
Right.
Like this. So I would just encourage you, like, good for you to think through that. Maybe you need to do a little bit more research and figure out how AI and automations are being utilized, and not just, take the TikTok video that you heard to heart. But even more so is, like, I would just challenge you. Take a look at your recruiting process. I bet you there are some things that your team is still handling over and over, that you could see a level of efficiency gain if you would just challenge your current process and figure out what areas you can turn some piece of automation on. And then just also the idea, and this goes back to kind of how I answered the first question for you, which is automation and AI doesn't have to feel like a robot. It can be personalized, and actually our emails and communications and texts and everything, it was drafted by a human, and we're actually just utilizing AI and automation to be the trigger that sends it for us. So I'd encourage folks that are on the fence of how to utilize it to think of it through that lens. Like, how do you build the thing and then just use automation or AI to be the trigger that shoots
Right.
it out for you to save the time?
Put your heart into it, put your personal touch into it, and then let the automation handle the heavy lifting of making sure that it gets to the right folks in the right time.
Yeah. And free up your
Jordan.
time to do the stuff that you like to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like writing some songs, man.
Yeah.
Jordan, thank you so much. I hope we could do this again together. Maybe we could get in a room and have some instruments out. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and continuing to share your story of how Sweetwater Sound is continuing to innovate with the ways that you guys are applying automation throughout your entire hiring process. Thank you again, Jordan.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
As our friends from Rally House mentioned earlier, the game has completely changed for hiring in retail. Gone are the days where you can rely on filling your staffing needs by walk-ins, and really the market for talent has evolved to where your competition for talent is everywhere. Speed and experience are more critical than ever before to ensure that you can execute on your overarching staffing strategy. The Phenom platform has a hyper focus on delivering experience all the way down to the persona level. Experience is delivered through orchestrating automation and intelligence to personalize all the way down to the individual. The challenge within the retail space is that the expectation of today's workforce has changed a ton. Expectation is around speed and simplicity, driven from how the consumer process is done online these days. The problem is that expectation and HR technology have not historically intersected. Automation and intelligence is the absolute game changer. It can empower you to create a symphony between experience and process to get the best of both worlds. Technology can now be viewed not as the gatekeeper, but as a critical part of the overall experience by speeding up the interaction of job match, the expression of interest, initial screening, assessment of talent, as well as the next steps such as additional screening or even scheduling an interview. By doing so, you can heavily impact all of your key recruitment metrics. I like to think about it like building with Legos. The workflows are the kind of that green base that you build your structures on. You can use the different Lego blocks to build the journey, leveraging rules-based automation to guide candidates through highly qualified, mostly qualified, or even knockout tracks. But it can vary throughout the different experience you're trying to deliver to candidates. Phenom clients such as Circle K are providing an experience of job match, expression of interest, initial screening, situational assessment, scheduled interview, all within less than 8 minutes. So let's dive in. For clients such as Rally House, personalization for their ideal candidate is happening before a candidate even needs to click on their site. Speed and relevancy is critical in converting eyes into expression of interest on the site. Personalization is powered by intelligence to align job seekers, in this case based on geo, but also maybe past search behavior the moment they reach the site. Personalization further prompts the job seeker to tell us more about themselves, and it's used to refine recommendations all the way down to the job seeker level. But how can we level up the experience even more past just the recommendations? As a candidate is going through the journey, they act as window shoppers, using the context provided, such as location, behavior, candidate details, kind of the things that they're doing on the site. Jobs that are most relevant to them are presented. As they select the job that's most relevant to them, automated workflows create a much more custom journey as it relates to job match. Each individual prompt can be curated towards how you want to guide the candidates through the journey. As they continue the journey, a candidate is able to seamlessly express interest in an opportunity. Many organizations choose to take the approach of kind of a quick capture like this, details on who the candidate is, how do we get in touch with them, and then actually grab that full apply a little bit later on in the process, but it's very interchangeable. The next step is basic screening. These screenings are governed by rules-based logic. So depending upon how I answer them, I can be taken on different paths, such as like a highly qualified path, a mostly qualified path, or even a knockout path, depending upon how those critical screeners are leveraged within the role. Based on the candidate answering screeners in a highly qualified way, in this flow, a situational assessment is triggered to be completed as part of the inline experience. Rules-based logic can be used to further the automation and create a better experience guiding a job seeker to the next step. Final step in this process is going to be that action step, so that final Lego piece. This could be a number of options. It could be just really based on those different Lego pieces available in your configuration, such as enhanced screening, maybe some additional assessments, scheduling an interview, inviting for a hiring event, or even leveraging a voice agent. So stay tuned on that topic. We're going to be showcasing some of what that exciting technology is in a different session. As this candidate finishes the experience, within a matter of minutes, they were able to match with jobs, express interest, complete screening, and complete an assessment along with scheduling an interview. But wait, there's more. We all know that in the retail space, mobile is absolutely critical. This entire journey can be guided not only on a desktop, but also via a mobile device. Some of our retail clients are seeing over 70% of their overall traffic coming in from mobile phones. So it's absolutely critical to be able to recreate this experience in the mobile environment. This entire experience can be built based on your uniqueness. Each of these prompts is carefully curated based on your target audience. Whether this is a situation where you're trying to be more efficient in screening through large volumes of candidates, or even focused on processing a very hard to find position more efficiently and get that candidate in front of your hiring team. Now let's take a look at the back end of the platform, which acts as really the conductor of your orchestra. Each of these paths are purpose-built based on the ideal logic for the scenario. The job search flow curates the information gathered that is needed to effectively match a job seeker with a job. To personalize even further, you can add additional media, such as videos like showing the day in the life, or even prompts that use language that's really specific to your organization. The job application workflow is where highly qualified versus minimally qualified versus knockout paths are created. Prompts are built on each of these within the paths to be able to guide the job seeker down the experience relevant based on their fit to the role, and then leveraging all the tools in your tool chest as that action step. Through streamlining this entire experience process and leveraging hiring automation, Phenom clients are able to stay hyper-focused on the experience of the individual while speeding up the process through reducing and eliminating tasks, but then also really understanding where they have those different areas of friction in their workflow to be able to iterate and make it better based on the situations at hand. Clients like Texas Roadhouse have been able to reduce their time to hire by over 50%, saving their hiring team thousands of hours in administrative activities while getting the right talent in place faster and more efficient.
If you're a talent acquisition leader in retail, you know this reality. Candidates land on your career site and immediately feel lost. They're faced with hundreds of job listings, confusing job titles, and generic descriptions that could apply to any retailer. Here's what happens next. 68% of them leave within 30 seconds. The ones who stay, they spend 15-20 minutes trying to navigate your apply process, and half of them abandon before finishing. Meanwhile, your merchandising teams, buying departments, and store operations are desperately calling for talent. The problem isn't that candidates don't want to work in retail fashion. It's that we make it impossibly hard for them to find the right opportunity and actually apply. Today's candidates, especially those looking for corporate retail roles, expect same conversational, intelligent experience they get from ChatGPT or their favorite shopping apps. So let me show you how leading fashion retailers are completely transforming this broken experience into something that actually converts qualified candidates and fills those critical merchandising and buying roles that keep your business running. Let me introduce you to Elias. He's got experience in product assortments and merchandising, and he's exploring opportunities in fashion retail. Watch what happens when he lands on this career site. Instead of a typical job search interface, he sees this beautiful on-brand experience with a simple conversational prompt, just like starting a conversation with a knowledgeable career advisor. Elias asks a natural question about fashion merchandising opportunities. No drop-down menus, no guessing job codes, just natural language. Now this is powerful. Watch how the assistant responds. It doesn't immediately dump job listing on him. Instead, it first explains how fashion merchandising is central to the company's mission, connecting creativity with strategy, showing how these roles bring style to the customers. It's selling him on the purpose, not just the position. Only after establishing that emotional connection, it represents the opportunities visually on the map. And look at the variety of roles: product buyers, assistant buyers, category specialists, each with different focuses, but all aligned with his interest. He can see exactly where these opportunities are located, making them feel real and accessible. As Elias explores the map, he's now thinking specially about these opportunities. Maybe one location is near his favorite coffee shop, another is on his current commute road. This visual exploration makes the job search feel more like shopping for the perfect fit rather than submitting to a black hole. The category specialist role catches his eye. With one click, he gets a focused view that highlights this is a high demand role. Instead of a generic job description, he sees role specific details about leading cross functional projects, optimizing product assortments, exactly his wheelhouse. But here's where we break from tradition. Instead of launching into lengthy application, watch how conversational and simple this becomes. Assistant acknowledges his interest and keeps the momentum going on. No forms yet, just confirmation that he has made a good choice and building his confidence about the opportunity. Now the assistant simply asks for his resume to move forward. Notice, no account creation, no password requirements, no 15 pages application. Just share your background so we can connect. It's that simple. This is where AI truly transforms the experience. Within seconds, the assistant has analyzed Elisa's background and make specific connections between his experience with cross-functional projects and product optimization. Exactly what his category specialist roles require. Instead of making Elias wonder if he's qualified, the AI is validating his experience and showing him why he's great fit. Then comes the game-changing moment, offering to connect with a recruiter immediately. And here's what sets us apart from every other career site's experience. The assistant doesn't just say thanks for applying, it actually schedules a specific touch point. Josie from recruiting will call at 12:30 p.m. today. Think about the psychology here. Elias went from browsing to having a confirmed recruiter conversation in under 3 minutes. No wondering, no waiting, just a clear next step with a real person scheduled for the same day. Let's step back and appreciate what just happened. In less than 5 minutes, Elias had a completely different experience, different from what 99% retail job seekers ever get. Think about what this means for candidates. They find exactly the right merchandising roles through natural conversation. No endless scrolling, no confusion. They understand why the role matters to the company before they even invest any time. They apply in 90 seconds, just upload a resume, that's it. They even get immediate validation. The AI tells them why their experience matters. And they secure a recruiter call for the same day. Not someday, not maybe, just today. Now think about your talent acquisition team. Quality candidates actually complete applications. Why? Because it feels like a conversation, not a transaction. Your fashion merchandising roles get filled faster, much faster, because qualified candidates can actually find them. Your recruiters spend time talking to the interested candidates, pre-qualified candidates, not chasing ghosts. And you're competing successfully for the talent against every other retail giant. But here's what really matters. What this means for your business. Critical merchandising and buying roles gets filled for 50% faster. You get higher quality hires. The AI helps candidates self-select into the right roles. Drop-off rates, they plummet throughout the entire process. And your hiring managers, they finally get the talent they need. to actually drive business results.
The way we work is changing. There are teams that nowadays are hybrid, it is remote, it is in office. You have teams spread across different regions. And along with it, there is a suite of fragmented systems that have to come together to build that experience. It is inevitable. The fragmentation, the scale, it's inevitable. And so we are seeing this as a really, really big challenge for most organizations around the world. In fact, when you compound this with the fact that talent today has the choice and they get to decide where they want to work, you suddenly have the coming together of two really, really big problems from an enterprise and HR perspective. You want to try and retain folks. You want to make sure that they get productive in the shortest time possible. And which is why onboarding is evolving into a competitive advantage. Better onboarding results in faster time to productivity. And in fact, directly impacts your bottom lines and your top line. With Phenom Onboarding, we have built a system that unifies the entire onboarding process, a system that brings together multiple teams, multiple roles, and creates an experience that is personalized for every single individual. Let's take a look at what Phenom Onboarding looks like as a product. I'm a new hire, Tanya. Let's start from Tanya, who's a new hire. She's just received a welcome email on accepting the job offer and to kickstart her onboarding process. All of this is done automatically by Phenom. So we go ahead and we start her onboarding. What Tanya lands on is a page that is defined by who she is, where she's joining, at what role, and many other factors. So it's completely personalized for Tanya. And the system knows that. You will start seeing that upfront, we have some of the key compliance elements that need to be completed. And this is on purpose. This is to ensure that people complete their compliance and administrative tasks right up front. And then you have a whole bunch of content that'll keep showing up through her pre-boarding period, which will take her through an understanding of the company, an understanding of the people that she's going to be working with, an understanding of the workplace culture. In fact, what Phenom Onboarding also does for your new hires is it gives them a hub to come in and look for specific messages, and it looks for specific factors that could result in a great onboarding experience. For example, Phenom Onboarding already knows where her workplace is, shows her a live Google map, and also shows her the people that she's going to be working with. All of this in an interface that is customized for your business and for your company. The brand colors, the guidelines, everything is what you would expect from your company, right? So every new hire gets a taste of what they are joining and what they're in for. In fact, as we progress, and let's start with maybe the compliance pieces, Phenom Onboarding has also reduced the amount of time that onboarding takes from a compliance, document capture, data capture. Oh my God, it keeps going on. But we've actually made it super simple. In fact, when we think about things like uploading documents, ah, you know what I'm saying. There are so many times people upload the wrong document, people upload a blurry image, and that goes into a feedback loop, comes back after 2 days. You have lost so much time. But with Phenom's AI agents, what it does is it picks it up immediately and throws out a message saying, "Hey, Tanya, you know what? That looked like a visa. Maybe you want to retry uploading a passport. Let's retry, right?" So Tanya goes in, and this time, let's hope she's uploading her passport. And yes, it is. The agent identifies it and then automatically accepts that document. Similarly, we can create multiple document types, capture multiple document types. And in fact, what happens is once these documents are captured, we can also go ahead and parse all that information into the form. So, data entry, no duplication, and minimal data entry. It is what everyone has been dreaming of, and that's what Phenom Onboarding provides today. All the data in the right place, all the documents parsed over, and any data that comes from the recruitment process gets captured into the document, into the form as well. Think about it. That is how easy it is. Now, instead of spending hours creating the entire form or entering all the data, Tanya has just spent a few minutes and completed that compliance process, which is a pain. Agentic AI, intelligence, all coming together to create a really great experience. Now you'd see that Phenom Onboarding has also generated documents, the non-disclosure agreement, bank account details, using the data that Tanya had put into the form. So we also now have the ability to generate documents. Think about it, I-9s, W-4s. In India, it could be different compliance documents. In the US, it could be different compliance documents. In England, it could be a completely different set. And that's what the system does automatically. Now, don't forget, there's also content, there's also communication. So as I progress through my pre-boarding, as I get closer to day one, what you will start seeing is you will start seeing different things coming up. Hey, my joining date changed. So I have 15 more days to my joining date. And in fact, we also have a scheduler as part of Phenom onboarding. So forget about the days where you have to try and figure out, hey, when is the store manager available? And this retail executive needs to find time to speak to the store manager, and your poor recruiters and HR teams are sitting and calling up people and trying to figure out times. All of that is gone. With Phenom onboarding, as they continue to complete a lot of their onboarding processes, whether it be communication, timely communication, or whether it be closer to day one, checklists and those kind of things coming up, we start seeing that the new hire and her experience changes and evolves as it gets further into the onboarding process. Now you suddenly start seeing things like, hey, resources and teams and documents that are important for collaboration. So the entire product starts molding itself to your start date, right? And everything, even if the start date changes, that's not a problem. The system will start molding itself around that start date and start delivering the type of information that you'd expect and you'd want your new hires to get over a period of time. This is the beauty of Phenom onboarding, a completely personalized experience for your new hires and gives you an overview of exactly what's required. No need to go into a portal and search for information. Tanya has everything she needs as she progresses through her onboarding process. And in fact, as I was saying, finding time with Buddy, another great scheduling use case. That's it. Finds the time slots available, and immediately you have actually now gone ahead and scheduled time with your buddy. Beauty of Phenom onboarding just continues to give. And in fact, one of the things that we're focusing a lot on are different ways in which we can bring in AI and agentic AI to build a much better experience, to reduce the amount of administrative overload, and in fact, create an experience that is unlike anything else. And so as you get to day 30, you start looking at, hey, Tanya now needs to get into a mentorship program, and she needs to kind of look at career pathing within the organization. And she needs to kind of look at how potentially the company gives back, whether she wants to be a part of CSR campaigns, social responsibility campaigns. On the recruiter side, the entire experience is built for a completely unified experience. Whether your recruiter or your onboarding exec is responsible for 10 onboardees or 200, it doesn't matter. Phenom Onboarding gives them an entirely unified experience in one place. In fact, it is the only system that you will see that can give you a in-depth real-time view of all the statuses of every single new hire. You can go to the macro level, you can look at where things are, how things are progressing, how many of them are active, how many of them have completed at different stages, or you can go into a single individual and go into a lot of detail about that individual. Hey, has IT assets for Tanya been created? No, it's not been assigned. That's an escalation, and we can throw up an escalation email. So the entire concept of Phenom onboarding is to unify the experience for your different roles and for your different team members, whether it's your onboarding team, your new hire, your manager, your recruiter. Everyone gets their own view and their own experience. Even creating some of these components, whether it be forms or journeys, we have built a really simple self-service module. We'll help you set the forms up, but if you wanted to come in and make a change over here, it becomes really easy for you to do that. Even journeys, think about a journey as a sort of milestone-based drip campaign that goes out to your new hires 10 days before joining, on joining day. What happens 30 days after joining? What should happen? A check-in should be set up. You are now creating a completely customized flow for a specific group of people. And you can build personas and create that entire experience. That's how simple it is. Phenom Onboarding is your one-stop shop, which brings in AI, agents, and intelligence to build an experience unlike any other for your new hires.
So we just saw how easy it is to make retail employees day one with your organization a seamless, personalized experience powered by automation and intelligence. That first impression matters, and Phenom helps you make it count. Now let's talk about what happens after day one. You've already done the hard work, sourcing, interviewing, and hiring great retail talent. But as we all know, many retail roles are seasonal by nature. Think of all the times your best employees leave to go back to school, or take on other commitments, or simply step away during slower seasons. These are people you want back, people who already know your culture, your tools, your customers. If only there was a way to keep them engaged, warm, and ready to return without adding more manual work for your team. That's exactly where Phenom's alumni experience comes in. With the alumni experience, top pre-qualified retail talent never really leaves your ecosystem. Instead, they transition from employees to engaged alumni with a branded, personalized space built just for them. Using Phenom's alumni experience, former employees are invited to join a branded alumni network where they receive exclusive job alerts, tailored content, and updates from your organization. Automated campaigns re-engage top performers and invite them to return as soon as the new roles become available. The reboarding process is streamlined thanks to pre-filled applications and saved preferences, reducing friction for both the candidate and your recruiters. And then real-time analytics track engagement and rehire rates, so you can see exactly how this talent pool is contributing to your business outcomes. Now let's look at an example. Layla recently left the organization to return to college. She was a standout employee, reliable, personable, and quick to learn. and her school break just happens to align perfectly with your company's busiest season. Instead of starting from scratch with new applicants, Layla receives a personalized message through her alumni portal, highlighting opportunities tailored to her location and previous role. With a few clicks, she reapplies, skips the redundant paperwork, and is back to your sales floor, trained, productive, and happy to return. The alumni portal gives her personalized job recommendations based on her previous work and stated preferences, connections to former teammates, reinforcing a sense of belonging and loyalty, timely company updates, keeping her in the loop even when she's not actively working for you. Behind the scenes, Phenom's talent CRM is doing the heavy lifting. Layla was automatically tagged as alumni the day she was offboarded. She was added to relevant talent community and set up to receive alerts for upcoming seasonal roles. Your team set up an automated workflow that re-engages employees like Layla at just the right time. No manual steps needed. Another example in this scenario is if you're opening new stores. This happens a lot in the retail world where you are rapidly expanding to different parts of the region or the country, and you need to be able to staff up really quickly. A great place to tap into that talent is your alumni pool. So you can easily search for these folks in your CRM. They're tagged automatically as alumni. So you can add them to campaigns. You can automate using things like hiring status changes, those tags I just mentioned. And you can start adding them to campaigns, invite them to events for new store openings, and so on. And these campaigns can be branded, can be personalized, just like the rest of your career site, just like everything we've seen already, where Layla can receive an automated campaign or a drip campaign to encourage her to look at a new store opening position. And this can be delivered to her automatically based on her information provided in the alumni portal. So as a manager, as somebody opening a new store, I can quickly see how effective my campaigns are in the CRM by looking at the engagement funnel to see how many of my emails were sent, delivered, open, and if my jobs were applied for. I can easily duplicate this workflow as I'm opening new stores across the country. Think of the example that Brian shared with Rally House, where they're opening many stores throughout the country and utilizing these hiring automations, these workflows to help staff up their stores really quickly with qualified talent, often from other stores or people who have left and come back, those alumni. With the alumni experience, your organization gains a smarter, more scalable way to re-engage the retail talent you already know and trust. You'll save time, reduce costs, and avoid the pain of seasonal ramp-ups. More importantly, you create a continuous talent loop where past employees feel valued, stay connected, and return ready to hit the ground running. So next time your retail rock stars leave for school, travel, or other commitments, you're not starting over. You're simply pressing pause and letting automation ensure they're ready to say yes when it's time to come back. It's not goodbye, it's see you soon, powered by Phenom.